Hello and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. I am the founder and the spiritual director. Now, as you are sitting there joining us, you may have questions, any number of questions, such as, who am I? How did I get here? Spiritually integrated arts means what exactly? What is a teaching center? Well, what is Centers for Spiritual Living? What is that? What does that even mean? Or New Thought, or religious science, or science of mind and spirit? You may have any number of questions about this specific community, about the parent organization, CSL, our philosophy, our teaching, our liberation theology. Any number of questions. Feel free to send an email. We look forward to connecting more and building our virtual community, our global community. And if you haven't connected yet on social media, feel free to do so. This is your invitation now. Also, did you know that all of our Sunday messages are archived on our YouTube channel? You can watch it anytime. Now, questions about anything, such as becoming a member. What does that mean? What does membership entail? And if you live somewhere far and already belong to a spiritual community, can you be a member of more than one? The simple answer is yes, you can. Just like you can shop at more than one grocery store, you can attend or be a member of more than one gym. We are building beloved community. So you can do both. You can be a member of both. You can be involved with both. That's what being in spiritual community means. So we welcome you. We invite you. We are so appreciative that you have found this community and that you have joined us today. We bless you. We love you. We welcome you. Live long and prosper. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of our Sunday message. Love you. Connect with you soon. Blessings. Namaste and greetings and welcome to today's talk. You are enough. The art of happiness. I'm sure right about now we could all use a little bit of happiness in our lives. So, what is happiness though? Happiness can be defined as an enduring state of mind consisting not only of feelings of joy, contentment, and other positive, quote unquote, positive emotions, but also of a sense that one's life is meaningful and valued. How many of us can say that that is precisely where we are? We feel joy, we feel contentment, we feel other life affirming emotions, we feel that our life is meaningful, we feel that we are valued, we value ourselves. How many of us can honestly say that that is the truth of our experience? I invite you, that beginning quote came from an article on positivepsychology.com. I invite you to revisit and check out the whole article. We go on. The art of happiness is the art of living deeply in the present moment, right here and right now. With mindfulness and with insight, we can free ourselves from restlessness, cravings, distractions, resentments, grievances, etc., and other attachments, and realize we already have enough and we are enough to therefore be content with our lives. Breathe. So just in general, suppose you're walking down the street, you're walking down Constitution Avenue in DC, and someone walks up to you with a microphone and they say, "Excuse me, what is your definition of happiness?" How would you respond? The general definition, the state of being happy. Okay, I got you. I don't usually like to use part of the word in the definition, but okay, the state of being happy. Happiness is a sense of well-being, joy or contentment, as we just said. When people are successful or safe or lucky, they feel happiness. Okay. We've thrown out this word happy a couple of times. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But, the pursuit of happiness is one of the things that our country, the United States of America, is, based on or rooted in. We have that as one of our foundational statements. And different people experience or feel happiness for different reasons. And there is no one size fits all when it comes to approaching or creating or solving any of the issues or problems around the equation. What is happiness? What creates happiness? And yet, our invitation is still to go deeper to find out, how do we create not the pursuit of happiness, but the experience of happiness for all people. As I said previously, using the word as part of the definition. So, what does it mean to be happy? To feel happy. Generally, the definition: feeling or showing pleasure or contentment, a sense of confidence in or a satisfaction with a person, a situation, an experience, etc. Note, a lot of these may be deemed as reliant upon a conditional something to change. Oftentimes, we are looking for something outside of us to bring us pleasure, something outside of us to give us the sense of being content or satisfied. When I get a raise, I will feel content. I will be satisfied. When my children grow up and go off to college, I will then be able to live my life and have greater satisfaction, etc. We base it on a lot of external criteria. But what happens if we turn that attention inwards and say, Where does self-originating pleasure and contentment come from? How do we stoke those fires? How do we create internal confidence that can show up as external confidence, but it originates within? I'm not confident because other people are like, oh, Ray, you're such a great person. And how do I develop internal confidence that shows up externally, or satisfaction, etc.? Because as we said before, and we might say it again today, Nikki Giovanni said, you cannot know, if you don't know yourself, you can't truly know others. So if you're not confident within yourself, you're not satisfied with yourself, how can you be satisfied with another person or an experience, etc.? How are you invited to become self-satisfied or self-satisfying? Now, there are a great many synonyms for what it means to be happy. And we could express it in a great number of ways. I'm elated. You are glowing today, right? Or being cheery, merry, etc. So Merry Christmas means the same thing as Happy Christmas. Just saying. Happy holidays, Merry holiday, same thing. Just saying. How many of these do you feel on any given day? How many would you like to feel on any given day? What is the practice to feel them? Now, there are a lot of people that reflect on happiness and want to know what determines our happiness. And a lot of people will say, well, what determines our happiness is half of it's genetics, and a good portion of it is the quality of our thinking. And then there's the small sliver that are circumstances. Okay. But there are a lot of people who, variety of reasons, will argue this. And that's cool. That's cool because it starts the discussion. But for yourself, ask, to what degree does genetics play into my happiness? Can I be happy regardless of my genetics? To what degree is the quality of my thinking creating happiness? What of my circumstances or my experiences? What is the impact of that? And when we reflect on happiness, do I feel pleasure? Am I contributing somehow to the greater good of life on earth? Am I able to gain satisfaction from multiple, sort of what we talked about before, intersectional, from multiple domains without neglecting others? Can I gain satisfaction from when I create art in a way where it doesn't make other relationships suffer? I am so busy in the art studio that I have no time to play with the dog. So the dog is lonely. Why should the dog suffer? Because how do I create greater balance? Am I engaging in activities which I find to be satisfying? Right? There's a great deal that we could discuss and look at, and even within that, reflecting on happiness, we see how they overlap, intersect. We see how they are interwoven with one another. Even genetics, circumstances, and thoughts, are they not still overlapping, interweaving with one another to create our experience of happiness? Now, there are many benefits to happiness or feeling happiness. On a neurochemical level, serotonin, oxytocin, etc. There are all of these that are beneficial. And when we are in a state of happiness, these chemicals move through us freely. The amount of stress chemicals are reduced. Inflammation in the body reduced. So feeling happy, being happy, isn't just about whistle while you work, do 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 do. Just do your best and take a rest and sing yourself a song. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then it's not just about that. It's about the actual biological benefits that these chemicals bring to the body, which then impact the way the body shows up in the world, and the cycle continues. So it's not just for the sake of it's all good and I'm happy, but it's if you're happy, then your body's going to show it neurochemically, biologically. But once again, we are so caught up in the idea of how can that person make me happy? How can that job make me happy? How can this make me happy? And we are always looking for which one is the right one. What is the right combination of things that will bring us joy and happiness rather than realizing self. Thich Nhat Hanh offers, we can imagine there are many doors leading to happiness. Opening any of these doors, happiness will come to you in many different ways. But if you are attached to one particular idea of happiness, it's as though you have closed all the doors except for one. And because that particular door does not open, happiness cannot come to you. So don't close any door. Open all of the doors. Don't just commit yourself to one idea of happiness. Remove the idea of happiness that you have, and happiness may come right away. If your only idea of happiness is being rich, then you have closed all possibilities that happiness can be yours for as long as you are not rich. And trust and believe that suppose you were to win the Mega Million and become rich overnight, you wouldn't be happy. You might trick yourself into believing, but because happiness was reliant upon the money, you're going to hoard the money because it is the end all and be all to your happiness. So then you become greedy and stingy. That and happiness cannot coexist in the same consciousness. So as he is offering us, open to a greater awareness of what happiness can mean. He goes on to say, the fact is, many of us are attached to a number of things we think are crucial to our well-being. We think the job, a person, or some material possession, some ambition are crucial. Could be anything. And even though we suffer a lot because of it, we don't have the courage to let the attachment go. But the truth may be, we continue to suffer precisely because of that. We think we're suffering because we don't have it, but we're actually suffering because we are clinging. Each one of us has to look deeply and see this for themselves, for ourselves. It needs great insight and courage to release our old idea of happiness. But once we do that, freedom and happiness can come very easily. So in what ways are we attached to? As he said, are we attached to a certain body image? Are we attached to a certain loved one, which is why we are grieving and not healing the grief, which doesn't mean getting rid of the grief. It means we are processing and healing in order to find greater balance. How are we attached to our possessions? Attached to love, or what we think love is. Attached to status. So many non-life affirming attachments that we are invited to have the courage and the bravery, the audacity to let go of. And as I said earlier, Nikki Giovanni reminds us, if you don't understand yourself, you don't understand anybody else. If you are not happy with yourself, you're not going to truly be happy with anyone else. Not truly, not fully. You may on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being ecstatic joy and merriment. And you don't feel any of that for yourself. So you might be at a 2. You'll be able to be happy and ecstatic and joyful with others at a 2 when it could be a 10. Do you understand yourself? Pema Chodron says it's painful to face how we harm others, and it takes a while. It's a journey that happens because of our commitment to staying awake, our commitment to being mindful. It is that commitment that gives us the ability to face the ways we may be, in fact, causing harm to others or to the environment. And coming to this realization, as she says, may take a while. It is a journey, but it is the journey we are invited to take. Do we harm others because on some level we are harming ourselves? And I ask that because for a variety of reasons, but I ask it because do we deny happiness to others because we deny it to ourselves? Do we deny freedom to another because we deny it to ourselves? Just saying. And I know some of us may feel like the system is preventing our ability to be happy. And to a certain degree, I'm right there with you and understand completely. But I also want to encourage us to understand that as this image says, are you happy? No. Do you want to be happy? Yes. Then something has to change. Are you happy? No. Do you want to be happy? No. Then keep doing whatever you're doing. Are you happy? Yes. Then keep doing whatever you're doing. And I reference this specifically to say, you don't feel happy? No. But you want to be? Yes. Then what are you invited to change? Even when you say, well, I can't change. The system in the United States of America as a transgender person is right now trying to demonize me and vilify, and it's removing my rights to be for my own body autonomy. It's refusing. I got you. Yes, that's it. That is, in fact, what's going on. And yet, when we look at the lives of others who have faced similar oppression for a variety of reasons, enslavement was a big thing in this country for centuries. And individuals such as these two said, are you happy? No. Do you want to be happy? Yes. Change something. Emancipation. And in the case of both of these two, they continue to do the work to help others become emancipated. So are you happy? No. Do you want to be happy? Yes. Then what are you invited to change in order to be it, in order to experience it? And yes, once again, I understand that there is a legal system, there is a governmental system that may be preventing and uh, vilifying, yes, because at one point, all of these things, Jim Crow was legal, slavery was legal, the Holocaust was legal. But legal does not mean just. And as the suffragists would say, to ask freedom for women is not a crime. Suffrage prisoners should not be treated as criminals. To that, I also add to ask for equity, justice, liberty, freedom, human rights, dignity is to ask for a world that works for all. Equal rights for me does not mean less rights for you or for anyone else. For a transgender person to receive effective and healthy medical care as a transgender person does not impact my health care at all, nor does it impact yours. In fact, the happier and healthier they are, the greater is their contribution to the collective consciousness. So it is actually more beneficial to ensure that that transgender person is happy and healthy, that that person who desires to be clean and sober is happy and healthy, that that unhoused person receives whatever they need to receive to be happy and healthy. It actually benefits us as a culture, as a society, as a planet to take care of one another. As Yeshua said, take care of the least of these, for what you have done to them, you have in effect done to me. Oh, doesn't that connect to what we said last week about being meta-dependent, intra-dependent? What we do to one impacts all, impacts us. So once again, are you happy? Yes, then keep doing what you're doing. No, but you want to be happy? What are you invited to change? And that change starts with ourselves. Do we have self-hatred? Is that self-hatred outpicturing as hatred towards another? Let that sink in. Do I hate gay people because somewhere within me, I may be a closeted gay person and I hate myself for it? I may hate myself for some other reason and I'm letting it come out on them, right? We know this kind of thing happens quite often. Someone who's angry, something happened at work, and they come home and they take it out on the wife, the husband, the children, the partner, the pets. They take it out on someone else. It was done to them. They internalized it. And the rage came out. We know this happens. And as spiritual people in this teaching, we are invited to go into the space of consciousness to identify, is there any self-hatred? Is there any projection of hatred? And maybe it's not hatred, maybe it's fear. Where am I overflowing with or being submerged by or whatever? Fear. Fear of another, fear of a situation. And when is this the very thing that's prohibiting me from being free and therefore being happy? And speaking of fear, as we know from something Marianne Williamson has said, and it has been circulated, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Are we afraid of how powerful we are, and so we settle for less? We are afraid of how powerful we are, so we continue to accept abuse and trauma and pain and all sorts of things, and we never reach a point when enough is enough. Because to get to the space of enough was enough before enough was enough. To get to that space means we have to be willing to establish a boundary and live by it. To establish a new criteria for how we show up in the world. To embody that light and be that light in the world. Because as she says at the end of it, when we liberate ourselves, when we shine, when we love, we then give other people permission to do the same. Our happiness becomes contagious. Dr. Holmes says, true happiness is not the fleeting emotion that we feel from time to time. True happiness is the knowingness of our wholeness. The idea that however we are in this moment is wholeness. All the parts of us, the parts we like, the parts we don't like so much, are nonetheless part of this wholeness. Nothing exists outside of the divine. And as he wrote in Observations, we must come to believe that at the center of our lives there is a wholeness. And we should think of the mind as the doorway through which it enters. There is only one mind, and that mind is God, and that mind is our mind now. The mind is the doorway through which this wholeness enters into our being, enters into our awareness. Therefore, we should be very careful to guard what comes into our minds or what stays in our minds as it comes from the opinions of others, as it comes from what we see on social media, what we hear in the news, what we gossip with the neighbors. We should be very careful to guard the rich soil of our minds from the seeds that others would plant in it, and then to regulate what comes into it from any source. Be mindful. We are mindful when we are thinking healthy. We are mindful of what we eat. And even those people who, they eat 10 Big Macs a day, 4 dozen donuts, 6 pots of coffee, etc. Even them, they're mindful enough to say, but I know I'm not supposed to eat this battery. I know I'm not supposed to drink bleach, even though a former politician once said that that's how we get rid of COVID. Even they understand that there are still certain things you do not ingest. Do we have the same level of stewardship in terms of what we ingest? So we don't ingest poisons or toxins. We're not ingesting poisons and toxins psychologically, mentally, spiritually. Are we willing to become greater stewards to regulate that aspect of what comes into our mind and what stays in our mind? Charlie Brown says, I think I'm afraid to be happy because whenever I get too happy, something bad always happens. Murphy's Law. The idea that we're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Understood, but why? Why is that the consciousness that we are continuing to sow into the soil, knowing that that's the harvest we're going to continue to reap? Mark Twain said, I have spent most of my time worrying about things that have never happened. Worrying is not an action. In fact, it is an action that alleviates concern and dissipates worries. Okay? Take more actions when you feel that worry is creeping in to steal your time. Okay? It need not be a huge action. Any action in the direction of what you want to go, the direction of where you want to go, the direction of where you want to be, any action in that direction will do. Okay? So worry is not an action. But an action is the very thing that will alleviate the worry. Okay? So what does that mean? It means the same thing that many psychotherapists and therapists and counselors say, that when you feel grief, sadness, whatever that is, get up and walk, go outside, look up at the sky. They encourage you to take some small action. Doesn't have to be major. Go to the mailbox outside. Go to the front door and step out on the porch. Something to get that condition of whatever's going on in our minds and our emotions. It breaks up that pattern. So worry is not an action, but in fact, it is action that will be the thing that alleviates the worry, the dread, the fear. And it is that action that then gives way for the rise of joy and happiness. So whether it's worry or it's doubt or it's fear, whatever it is that is non-life affirming in our faiths or our beliefs, taking action changes the pattern. And the more we take action, the more we change the pattern. And the more we change the pattern, the more we change the outcome. What keeps us from knowing and embodying this sense of wholeness is a belief that we are not enough. Ooh, did he just go there? Did Dr. Holmes just go there? That we are not enough and that there is not enough in the world. Lack and scarcity. Back of unhappiness, Dr. Holmes writes, is the thought that there is not good enough, not love enough, not peace enough, not health enough, nor is there understanding enough to go around. And so that, as a result, some of us lack. Some of us are short of the good things of life because there isn't enough to go around. And that very lack and scarcity consciousness, the belief in that, is what causes us to prevent ourselves from feeling the wholeness, the perfection, and the completeness, therefore the happiness. What did Nikki Giovanni say? If you don't know yourself, do we know ourselves as whole, perfect, and complete? Or do we still buy into the idea that because I can't balance my checkbook, I'm clearly not perfect? Because I have 10 parking tickets or speeding tickets or whatever tickets, clearly I'm not perfect. I might need surgery on my elbow, so clearly I'm not perfect. I got a toothache. Clearly I'm not perfect. I'm not whole or whatever. I'm not connected. I'm not married. I'm not in a relationship. Clearly I'm not. It's that idea versus I'm whole, perfect, and complete no matter what. Surgery or no surgery. I'm whole, perfect, and complete no matter what. Money or no money. I'm whole, perfect, and complete no matter what. House, apartment, or no house or no apartment. If I'm living in a mansion or on the street, I am still whole, perfect, and complete because that which God is still me. It doesn't matter. And when we have that realization, it starts to change how we act because the belief is different. And if the belief is different, then everything else is going to be different. Now, because I can hear some of y'all because referencing fear, and I want to throw out there that, as he's saying, is all fear bad? No. So drop that idea right now. Fear is a natural response to certain things that occur in our lives, and it gives us the ability in a variety of situations to have a variety of, when we talk about the happiness hormones and chemicals and neurochemistry, etc., there is also adrenaline that will flow through our system when fear arises. And it is the adrenaline that gives us the ability to fight or flight. It gives us the ability to survive. So someone breaks in, a home invasion, adrenaline kicks in. Whatever that is. So fear in and of itself is not bad. It's not the enemy. Our question is, can we differentiate between fear that we are imagining ourselves, the fear of losing a job, the fear of the incoming administration, the fear of whatever that is, versus there's the bear. I can see the bear is approaching the tent right now. This isn't going to be an everyday, all day kind of thing. This might be the worry and dread, the fear of a divorce, the fear of death, the fear that I may be marinating in that every day, all day. So our invitation is to be very clear, to discern if there is fear, what is it really that I am afraid of, and what am I doing about it? Because if I'm not doing anything about it, then I'm staying stuck in lack and scarcity, worry, doubt, all those things that Mark Twain talked about. And like I'm stuck in that, which means I'm going to continue to be in the pursuit of happiness and the pursuit of freedom, but never to experience it truly. Science of Mind proclaims the spiritual nature of humankind. It removes fear or non-life affirming fear by introducing love. It places us in the mind of God, which we already are, as some part of the eternal wholeness. It gives shelter to our souls. This is all poetic, right? Like he's speaking poetically, but it gives shelter to our souls. It satisfies the natural hunger of our intellect for the larger life. It surrenders indecision for divine guidance. For human fear, it gives, for human non-life affirming fear, it gives spiritual life affirming faith. So again, we're invited to be very clear. What is it that we desire to experience? Are you happy? Are you free? No? Do you want to be? Yes? Then what are you invited to change? And part of the change is asking, what is it that you are practicing and how are you practicing it? Whatever that may be, how and what are you practicing? The lesson is simple enough. When we ask for anything, we are to believe that we already have it, but we are to ask for that which is in unity with life. This unity includes health, happiness, and success. These are native to the atmosphere of God and to the atmosphere of the inner person, which is Christ consciousness. So let us dislodge doubt, non-life affirming fear, etc., and disbelief or unbelief, and trust implicitly in good, which also implies trusting implicitly in the goodness, the innate goodness of who and what we are, and practice it. So once again, what are you practicing? How are you practicing? What are you training? How are you training? What are your habitual actions? And what are they strengthening in terms of what we are talking about today? Dr. Holmes goes on to say, so we must accept that our own belief is the starting point. We must convince ourselves that it is right, that we should be happy and successful, as long as we harm none. This goes back to what Pema Chodron said, referencing the way that we cause harm. Once again, we are invited to come back and say, does me being a multi-billionaire working as the CEO of Amazon, does it cause harm to anyone? Yes. Then what is my invitation? As the owner of Twitter/X, is my multi-billion trillion, is it causing? Yes. Am I making money off of the backs, the lives, the sweat, blood, and tears of others? Yes. Then maybe that is not success. Maybe what I am is actually a capitalistic terrorist who is causing harm to others in order for me to profit. So, as Dr. Holmes says, we must convince ourselves that it is right for us to be happy and successful as long as that happiness and success cause harm to no one. So let's revisit the idea of practice and training. How am I practicing and training my mental equivalents in order to manifest the life that I say I desire to experience? We know that there is a power far greater than we are. There is a love that casts out fear and a faith that overcomes all obstructions. But do we know it? Are we living like we know it? He says we know it. Do we? Are we practicing that? Are we training based on that knowing? We must permit ourselves through affirmative or life affirming thinking to enter into this power and enter into this love with complete confidence. If we can believe that the Spirit, which is us, within us, God, makes perfect and happy the way before us, we then enter into conscious union, interconnectedness with everything that lives, everything that is, and we commune with the Spirit that is in and as all people and all things. There then develops an intimate relationship to the presence and to the power which controls everything. And we know, do we know? And we know, do we practice? We know, are we training with this knowing? And we know that we can trust it. Breathe. Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 offers us a way to address the conditions of our lives in ways that support health and well-being for ourselves and others. And this is because Science of Mind 4.0, as a liberation theology, offers trauma-informed spirituality rather than metaphysical malpractice and spiritual bypass, which compounds the trauma. We have practices that fortify our foundation in realistic, relevant, and life-affirming ways. Rather than denying our humanity, we honor and we celebrate it as a demonstration of our divinity. The more we face the truth of our own being as incarnations of Source, the more we can embrace, embody, and enjoy the fullness of the universe with wonder and awe. The more we live this truth, the more we practice this truth, the more we train in this truth, the more we change the systems. And doing so impacts the collective consciousness and the collective experience, which evolves and liberates all. Breathe. This week's affirmation or declaration, I will say it first, and if it resonates with you, repeat it with me the second time around. I embrace life's wonder and awe, and I am happy because I know I am enough. Together, I embrace life's wonder and awe, and I am happy because I know I am enough. And so it is. This week's journal questions or Thursday night study group questions. Number 1, how happy am I? What or who causes me to feel happiness? How afraid am I? What or who causes me to feel afraid? Number 3, what inspires awe and wonder in my life? And what can I do to bring more of this into my experience? How much faith do I have in myself? And what is the fruit, quote unquote? What is the fruit? What is the evidence of this faith? Number 5, what do I do to address my mental health needs? What are my mental health needs? What about my physical needs, my financial needs, my relationship needs? What do I do to address any of those as well? And lastly, my daily practice physically consists of, my daily practice emotionally consists of, my daily practice mentally consists of, spiritually consists of, socially, my relationships consist of, and fill in the blank. Breathe as we enter into that space. As we do our closing prayer, knowing that the infinite, the allness of God is the very expression of this thing called wholeness, the very expression of this thing called happiness and joy and merriment, awe and wonder. And because that is the truth of God, it is also the truth of me. It is the truth of we. It is the truth of all that is. And so I sit in this space of simply letting that truth marinate as I bask in the sheer light and brilliance of this truth, knowing that that light is my light. And that light is not this little light of mine. It is a great, grand, vast light of the infinite awareness. It is the enlightenment of the universe. And what is true of it is true of me. So I acknowledge my own enlightenment, my own meta sectionality, the manner in which I am interwoven with all of creation, all that God is, knowing that I need not pursue happiness. Happiness is the nature of my being. Awe and wonder, the nature of my being. And so I need not pursue it. I experience it. I train in it. I practice it. My mental equivalents are aligned. My thoughts, my words, my emotions and feelings, and my actions are that of it. And so I breathe, knowing that this truth that I'm acknowledging for myself is still the truth for everyone watching now and those who aren't watching. It is the truth, regardless of our awareness of it. If I have never heard the word gravity, not knowing that word does not mean that that apple will not fall from the tree. It simply means that I don't have a name for it. I don't know the process of physics as it relates to it, but I witness it nonetheless. So our ignorance of this truth does not change the truth. It simply changes our experience of it. But the more we know this truth and we practice it and we train in it and it becomes our way of life, then we truly are free. And that freedom, as a contagious power that is already the truth of everyone anyway, that freedom becomes the very thing that gives others permission to set themselves free. And together we change the systems and we free all of the expressions of God, that we may all live, move, and have our beingness, knowing that we are whole, perfect, and complete right now, right here. And so it is. So it is. Blessings, everyone. See you during the week for either, if you're in the Joel Goldsmith class, see you there. If you're at the Thursday night study group, might see you there. Well, Tracy will see you there. Other than that, you know how to find me if you need anything, if you want to chat. I will see you next Sunday right here. Same bat time, same bat channel. Love and appreciate you. Go and be your divine wholeness and be happy. You are happy and you know it. Clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Just saying. Go out and just saying. Go be the hokey pokey today. Turn yourself around. All right. Love y'all. Take care.